Start, outcome, achieved. Who said outcome? Outcome. Okay. कहाँ से शुरू करते हैं डिजाइन? आपके पास क्लाइंट का सब माल मसाला आ गया है. Whatever you need to know is you have information, pre-work, diagnostics, need analysis, all data is there. You're sitting down today with a big cup of coffee. And in next 2 hours you are going to design. Where would you start that?
With the end in mind, desired outcome. With the end in mind.
The end in mind, desired outcome. Any other thoughts?
Client's main point. Client's main point.
वो सब आ गए हैं. You are aware. अभी आपको माल मसाला whatever information, background information you need is there with you. You're designing. The session that's going to happen after a month and you're creating a first cut design. Where would you start?
Costing.
जो वो हो गया, वो सब मतलब agreed and approved हो गया. हाँ.
Funneling it through the first 3 questions of the steps probably, how much I have to take, the first 3 open to yourself first of all. What tools you want to use and how you want to reach to this, what more you want. So thinking, building up on those.
Okay. Fine.
I would probably start with the end in mind.
एक सेकंड ना.
I would probably start with the end in mind. What is that outcome I want to achieve? Once I know the outcome, for achieving this outcome, what do I need to do?
हाँ, बट स्टार्ट यहाँ से करोगे ना. अब स्टार्ट कहाँ से करोगे? आउटकम मिला आपको, फिर ऐसा उल्टा होगे. Okay, fine. Dada, you are saying something.
I told we will be keeping the need into mind. What the client's needs are.
आ गया, वो सब clear है. Pre-work is done. FNA, facilitation need analysis is done. Define, design, वो process में है हम अभी.
Then with people, we will make the setup. If everything is in place, we will go for the setup.
No. So that is later. आप so the current situation is your facilitator, client has approved and agreed your paisa kitna hoga, approved and agreed and allowed you to do your pre-work. Pre-work ka you have charged extra. Now you are going to design the session that you are going to do. Typically for a trainer we decide 5 framework hai, okay, 5 framework ko slide mein dalo, make some questions and then we are ready, a deck is ready. And then you start with the start. This is facilitation. Design from where it would start.
Contracting, understanding.
हो गया, contracting वगैरह हो गया सब.
Identify pillars on which I would like to build up on, like how.
Which one you would identify? Is it the first one, middle one, last one?
Is it meaningful questions? We start with that. After
we saw the process questions. That was our first element. Yeah, true. But then design. So question भी अगर समझो आपने 15 question design कर लिए. This is a question I want to ask, but you have to have some process, right, to hold it.
designing the focus question and understanding the focus question.
Even I would say that has come out of FNA and you agreed, client agreed upon. This is my focus question. What do we need to see in place in next 3 years? And it's a vision workshop. समझ लो. Okay. हाँ, अभी आ गया. How you will?
Focusing on the process and then going right and left.
Then collecting.
Thinking of what.
Focusing on process. Okay.
Starting with the process in mind.
Starting with the process. One school of thought talks about end in mind.
The way I do it is I create a run sheet. एक run sheet बना दिया है Excel के ऊपर. कि यहाँ से morning शुरू होता है. Visualize करना.
So that means start, no?
Yeah.
Morning is start.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sequence. How I would look at the day. Right? What are the different components? How I would look at the day. First half. Typically, where do we start? How do we connect? What question I will use to end?
So I'm hearing the start, the visualization start. Starting with icebreaker. Any other? क्या मॉडल्स है मेरे पास? Yes. yes, yes.
उसको निकाल के जगह डाल दो।
हाँ,
पहले कौन से क्लाइंट के लिए योजना
यूज किया था।
कॉपी पेस्ट करने के लिए क्या चाहिए उसे?
It will be shocking, but those three people there, Sanjeev, those three people there, they were right. For a facilitated session, you start with the outcome. If this is the outcome I need, what should be the question that will drive to outcome? थोड़ा यहाँ रख रहा हूँ। These are the desired outcomes, incidental outcomes, essential outcomes. इसके बारे में I have no idea. What client has given me is only desired outcome. If I have to achieve client's desired outcome, what should be my question? And that question would come here. Answer to that question would be the outcome achieved. And in this process, the question marks that you see, they are the people who are talking, and this is the process where there will be divergence, okay? And then eventually it will lead towards convergence, okay? So what should be the question, final critical question? This is first designed. Starting from the outcome. Facilitated session, starting from the outcome. I would even look at the time frame. If I have a time till 5:30, I would check with HR how many people need to fly down, fly back, and do I really have a time till 5:30, or is it 3:30, or is it 4 o'clock? If it's 4 o'clock, I would start my design with 3:30. In some of the Gulf countries, they would get up and they would say, thank you, see you tomorrow. 4 baje, 3:30 baje. They get up and they walk out, especially in Kuwait. 6 workshops, khatarnak experience. My workshop turned out to be half. So you really have to be very careful, because if you have to achieve the desired outcome, you can't keep everything hanging time-wise last. So first, final critical question. It could be 1 or 2 or 3 questions. So the diamond that you see, it need not be 1. Here, for my understanding, I just drew it like it's 1. It could be 2 diamonds. This is the diamond. इसमें divergence है, convergence है, and बीच में मंथन है. Okay? It could be 2. If I have to reach to the final crucial question, what are some of the supporting processes? And to seed these 3 or 4 processes, what should be the question for that? So these are sub-question and processes. Final critical question, sub-processes, some questions to support them, and then there is something known as a startup process. What need to be a startup process? Okay? And then before that, Paji, icebreaker, energizer, mood change, setting the context, all those things would come. So if you are able to do divergence once and convergence once by handling manthan the way it happens, you have to repeat that multiple times. Some of my designs would look like 18 to 20 such diamonds. Okay? And that's fair. As long as you know what happens. Okay? We take Vishakha's process demonstration as a quick case study. What happened in the beginning? You tell me where you saw divergence happening, convergence happening, divergence happening, convergence happening. Please tell me.
So, yeah. According to me, divergence happened when she said everybody go read, understand and respect it. Bring it to the chart paper. Convergence happened when we all had to mutually agree on and get it on that chart paper to bring it together. Again, divergence happened when she said ask different questions. Convergence happened when we all came back with the answers to the questions that happened. So there were multiple divergence conversions.
Yes, there is one divergence that happened when you read. When you read, it's a divergence, and when you interpreted, you highlighted something, key points, convergence. With that divergence, convergence, you came to a group. Okay, abhi batao bhaiya. Again divergence. And then after discussion, something came out. Convergence. On the chart paper, convergence. Okay?
You usually decided questions with divergence, again with group.
Again convergence. You're getting the point? Are you able to see now everything that's happening around you in divergence and convergence? For me, if you understand this, you're done as a facilitator. Your job is to get divergence and convergence done in a systematic way. And in between jo manthan karna rehta hai, that you handle well. Alright? Good? So, again, it's important that loosening up in the beginning. So design start from back, loosening up, context, objectives, contract, desired outcomes, parking lot. So parking lot is something that we stopped using. Parking lot is not a geographical parking lot. Parking lot is a chart paper kept aside just in case tangent comes. In last 5 years, my talk with many global facilitators, they say, Yateen, we don't really believe this parking lot. That comes mainly from the book called Spot On Facilitation, from the old practice. We say if it is a parking lot item, then why it came in the conversation? If it came in the conversation, therefore it is important. And if it is important, address it. While talking about conflict resolution and doing the process around that, if someone suddenly stand up and say, नहीं मेरे को ये salary का बात करने का HR से, अभी के भी बात करने का, I need that issue resolved. Well, then according to you as a facilitator, that is a parking lot item. Because salary is something, you are not contracted to do that. But if it is emerging, then it is important. Somehow, somewhere, you have to address that. Okay? You find somebody, do something, yeah.
So, in that context, there can be two ways. One is out of sequence, out of context. There's a conversation happening, maybe, not delivered by the facilitator. There are 4 people sitting, okay? And this is because it's contrary to parking lot. I guess Amrish, she baat mein baat karenge. Because Amrish is coming up with salary and we are talking about spirituality and the topic which we are talking about. So if it's contracted, then within this group dynamics will also be more...
True, but then group is never going to be as supportively thinking the way you are thinking now. For them, Bhaiya, this is my need now. What will you do? And then he would try to make it. भाई लोग सुनो, अपने लिए सैलरी का इम्पोर्टेंट है यार, पहला वो बात कर लेते हैं, खत्म, it's spread. It's a wildfire that spreads within no time. And then you are stuck. Should you address that? Should you not? Ask them. These are the desired outcomes. This is the method in which we decided to go ahead. However, this question appears to be important to you and at the same time not part of the agenda. And to handle this question, I may need someone from HR or whatever, payrolls or whatever. Is this okay if we discuss about this later? Or if you have to discuss, then I will have to pause, call the right person in and do that.
Okay, so you are saying parking lot hai, but not like I would get postponed. So you ask the people, ask the group.
In human ways, some facilitators used to put it in a parking lot. क्या बात कर रहा है? अच्छा उसका सैलरी का लिख ले. Okay, दे. It goes on parking lot. ये बाद में handle करना. That's in human way. Yeah. I mean, there are people. That's the need that is emerging. Okay. Yeah.
Just a question. And because you're talking about parking lot. So in one of our trainings, a person was asking, just like you said, we are talking conflict and no salary. So with a lot of context,
And sir was ready to answer. But the entire group held him off. He said, "Abhi chup hai." And the senior was also there. She stood up and said, "ये तू किधर पे लिख के रख, बाद में चाय से पूछना." So in that case, the facilitator just steps back.
Sure.
We don't get into
Only thing facilitator need to end that conversation or that episode. Listen. Only thing the way facilitator need to end is asking that person, that was your question and this is what happened. Is that okay for you? Can you be present here for us for this, whatever is ongoing? He has to say yes. That is where he will feel heard or she will feel heard. Otherwise, he or she will be disconnected forever. Correct? So that's the addressing part. So these all things happen. Contract is not the contract with people or the client sponsor. Contract on that day with the participants. These are the Yes. So contract with the participants. So as soon as they come in, this is what we are going to do, this is what it is, this is what we have, and this is what the timelines look like. There are washrooms here, there are washrooms there, there will be tea breaks, and maybe a live counter of tea is available outside. All this. Is everybody here? Mentally, physically. And this is what we are going to do. Is there anyone have any other needs that I need to be aware of? Such as कुछ ये चाहिए मेरे को 1 बजे का मीटिंग है एंड ऑनलाइन कॉल है, बॉस ने बुलाया, all those kind of things would come in contracting. And social contract is what we call as a ways of working. Okay, ये सब हमने इतना सब बड़ा लिख के रखा है. You should keep your chart paper completely blank and ask them what rules we want to follow today to make our time as productive as possible for each other. Question? Yes.
So I have heard Larry and other facilitators, Rodna and other global facilitators have a mixed opinion about
True.
ways of working.
Agree.
And some of them say that you don't want to spend time. It's a hygiene factor. Put it up, put it there, ask them is there anything else that they want, and get on with the session. Don't spend time, don't waste time on co-creating with work.
All the foreigners start on time and end on time. In India, it doesn't happen. In India, there are other contexts that happen. If you do not talk about time management or sharp time management, they will not be there. If you do not talk about one voice, Indians are the only people who have a tendency to talk 4 or 5 people at the same time. In any of the foreign country, they will keep quiet. Somebody is talking, they will keep quiet. Even if it was their turn logically. So there are some points you need to be contracted for. Non-judgmental. These are all Indian context ways of working. Sidebar conversation, respect each voice, every voice will be heard. These are some things that we need to little bit do it for India. Only thing is ways of working, our ways of working should not be prepared.
Should not be prepared.
Yes. It should be asking people. I'll tell you, one of the company, Gati, I was working with them. So all this was contracted for and they are okay. They said, fine, fantastic, great. But we need 15 minutes break. I said, yeah, there'll be a tea break. No. We need 15 minutes email break. Gati, KWE, Pune. I said, sorry, I didn't understand. A 3 days workshop. So he says, if we do not address or touch base on our laptop periodically, which is once at least every hour, accumulation of 100 plus mails happen. Half of them, 90% of them, we don't even know why we are marked in that, but our job is, the turnaround time is within 30, 40, 50 minutes we have to answer or say something or acknowledge. So he said, by the end of day, it will be 500 or 600 mails, and it becomes difficult. Our mind will not be here. So they contracted with me for extra 15 minutes time every 2 hours. I gave them, because that was their need. I could not have possibly thought of it.
Is that an option to say, okay, these are the non-negotiables?
No. Everything nothing is facilitation non-negotiable. Everything is negotiable. Everything. And that's why it has to come from them.
These are my suggestions. No?
So you say that we should
ये चार्ट पहले बना के लाए इतना अच्छे से।
मैं लाया हूँ, हाँ मैं मत करना हो. और अगर बना के लेके जाते हैं, then you have to spoil that chart. Yeah, भाई सर बहुत प्यार से बनाते हैं. By the way, these are not my charts. My handwriting is worst. You can see my handwriting. I'm graphic dyslexic person. Meaning, meaning my A or any alphabet in one sentence, if it appears 5 times, all 5 times it will be different. In all my bank accounts, there are 10 signatures. And sometimes even they don't match with the current signature. So बहुत दिक्कत होती है. If at all, for saving time, you are going there with the chart prepared, have read through, make them understand, and have it done, and then tick mark. This is what we agreed upon. This is what we agreed upon. This is keep an open mind. Sir, मालूम नहीं कैसा करने का, तो okay, question mark. So, or some people say, express 100%. Sir, हमको ये नहीं जमेगा. Cross.
इसमें टाइम बहुत लगेगा. Because people can say, okay, what do you mean by open mind? मेरा mind open नहीं है.
अगर ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं करोगे तो बाद में बहुत टाइम लगेगा.
Do you think ever people will say, okay, we don't agree with it?
Yeah.
There is no way. They will say,
Some smart employees who are pushed by HR into the room without their understanding why they are there to stand and do taboo wherever possible. Sanpada. Good. So this is a start point, which is loosening up and all that. The startup process, this process need to be. So we talked about Paji energizer. Shekhar gave a very nice name to any energizer we do during the process facilitation. He gave a name that, let's call it contextual sensitizer. If any activity that you are doing just to change the state of mind, and that activity has got nothing to do with your main course, then that activity time is a useless time. Contextual sensitizer. Okay, this a name came from Shekhar. I had never heard it before, and whenever I used to write in my LinkedIn post, many global facilitators would ask, can we use this? They have that courtesy, unlike some Indian facilitators who see things, immediately go, apna bana ke chalu karte. Copy left. We are all copy left. Okay. So do some contextual sensitizer, and then your first process, input and output. I need to draw something. This again comes from the NLP thing. May I borrow markers too? Yeah. I'll use this someone's chart paper, okay? So there is something known as I'll just write it here and then I'll take it there, okay? There's something known as TOTE model, which we use in NLP. So there is something TOT, T-O-T, test, operate, test, exit. This is a basically not NLP based model, this is an engineering model. TOT, TOT model, test, operate, test, exit. Okay. So typically there is input, there is process, and then there is output. Okay. Input, process, output. All right. In TOT model, test, operate, test, I'll just come closer and show it to you. Okay. So it is TOT model. Test, operate, test, exit. So if there is, in NLP we call, if there is something that you're doing experimentation with, you go ahead and you test it and then you use it. You see if it works. If it works, then you test should again happen. And if the desired results are there, then you exit. You know, that means it's a successful. It's a successful. Many a times when the success is not there, you usually have to come back. Do the changes and come back again. Similar way, there is an input, there is a process, and there is an output. Okay. You have your maximum leverage during the process. So for any of these processes, there is input, there is a process, and there is an output or outcome. Typically, पहले contextual sensitizer का outcome or output should become the input for the next segue. How things were happening when you demonstrated and you did something, and that is the opportunity for me to immediately seize the things here. Okay, half people, half. I instantly use that opportunity to demonstrate the process. Alright? So we call this a segue connector. If connector is missing, the buffer connector is missing, then what happens is this process may stand alone, the other processes may stand alone. You cannot say, अच्छा चलो अभी ये देख लिया, अभी ये हो गया, अभी अगला करते हैं. And if there is no connect in between, there will be a challenge. Participants will start sensing, feeling, and experiencing disconnect. Okay? The first process, startup process, support processes. Which one to use, that is up to you. But if it's a process, then it need to have some kind of divergence, some kind of manthan, and some kind of convergence. Okay, it could be a conversation, it could be something, it could be anything, but divergence, convergence, and divergence, manthan, and convergence has to happen. The three processes could lead towards the final process, and that process question kya hona chahiye, that you should have already defined. That is where your whole design starts. Okay. Are there any examples that come to your mind? Are you able to see it? Because for me, this is critical. If you understand this, never ever in life you will need to call back Yateen and say, I need help in design. Because this is critical as a facilitator. People learn processes, but if you are not able to connect them, there is a challenge. So that connector, that buffer, that segue, those questions, very important. Yeah.
So, in the whole day's duration, let's say we have a 6 hour available to us, would there be any kind of a formula or a matrix to assign times to these 3 or 4?
Yes. Pakka.
How much to the start and how much for the final?
Typically, the middle process, what appears to be these 3 small brothers, they take up maximum time. ये जल्दी खत्म होता है, फाइनल प्रोसेस भी जल्दी निपटने क्रिटिकल रहता है, तभी एनर्जी इन द रूम इज हाई. 50% I would give for in. So this is just one. If I push it here and similar block may come, so middle, first and last may not take much time. The middle time, you are creating that. Example deta hu. I think that will make sense. Okay. Actually, incidentally, that's one of the case for you to do as assessment. So I'm not too sure should I give that example or not. I'll give anyway.
Don't hold yourself back.
Yeah.
Can you take the MIT because that's a fresh money and if that can be a good example. MIT good example.
So they don't have context. Let me give another example and I can sit with you and debrief the MIT, how I designed it. Okay. It starts with, क्या outcome है मेरा? ये outcome है. What should this be answer of? Write that down. What should this be answer of? And then you will start getting the question. You may not get the right question immediately, but you will start getting questions. What should this be answer of? Okay? Example. I want this team of 15 management, whatever, executives to understand thoroughly about communication. The desired outcome क्या है? Spell it out. Say it. Well, is that enough? Thoroughly was a stress point. Thoroughly understand. Okay. What should that be answer of? These people should thoroughly understand communication. What should that be answer of? What's the question?
They have identified different scenarios to apply communication.
The question क्या आएगा?
What are all the different elements of communication?
What does effective communication means?
Realization should be what does thorough communication means with evidence. Thorough communication means with evidence. Okay? इसके लिए क्या प्रोसेस करोगे बाद में? अभी इसके पहले ये 3 क्वेश्चन क्या रहेंगे जो यहां पे आएंगे? Elements. What are the 3 elements or 4 elements or a critical elements of communication? What are the 3 elements and critical elements of communication? So it could be listening, it could be articulation, it could be body language. Say, what should be the question?
Elements of body language.
What is body language and how does it play? Anything about communication. What should be the question here in the center? We talked about articulation.
Voice. What are the elements of
The elements of voice जो हम लोग 7%, 38%, 50, 90, whatever जो करते हैं वो NLP में. What is that? And then over here, पहला वाला क्या था? Listening.
What is active listening?
What is active listening?
We have to focus on what, we have to focus on how.
First what? We figure out how in between through activities, through processes. Okay? इधर बीच में कहीं ना कहीं एक क्वेश्चन या एडेड सपोर्ट आएगा. हाउ डू वी डू दिस? सो द हाउ पार्ट. What is missing? What are the evidences of missing communication? What is the impact of that on business? All are process question. You just ask that question and let there be conversation and let there be colorful papers and suddenly you will find on the sticky wall people are getting understanding about communication. Okay? For this, what should this process be? Or maybe let's say some activity. What should this be?
What is currently missing?
Wheel of communication.
Could be wheel of communication currently missing. I prefer dish out the evidence. So I would say, वो है ना वो Chinese whisper वाला है ना activity. ऐसा कुछ एक activity करो जिसमें they will realize, holy cow. We don't experience, we don't understand communication. We think we do. It could be the rating scale. Where do you rate yourself on the scale of 1 to 10? 8, 7, 9. Great. Where do you think your bosses rate you? Things would change. Where do you think your colleagues rate you? Some changes. How do you come over those so-called differences? And why do they exist? That's where you start getting into their mind. They have to have something around communication. And experiential. Could be activity, could be something, some process. Yeah, good. Now, startup के लिए अगर एक छोटा सा कुछ तो भी exercise करना है, say contextual sensitizer, as Shekhar calls it. You know, I may just start with focusing on body language and getting that message across. Go greet everyone, but without saying hi, hello, how are you, you're going to greet the person. So it could be, Paji, if you can. Yes, sir. What I just did is somewhere that element of non-verbal I brought. भाई बात तो कुछ नहीं किया था, तो कैसे समझ में आया? These are the curiosity things that you keep on building up. Once you come here, probably you have to revisit the pre-work and facilitation need analysis. कहाँ पे इन लोग का ये तकलीफ होता है? And somewhere at the end of every process, the new question is born. The outcome of every process is a new question that is born, that you again processize it. What do you need for that? Do you need activity? Do you need some kind of process? Do you need anything? Anything it could be. Okay. Also, one of the major question to ask, I'm running a workshop on communication, but what are some of the factors that hamper communication? A less mutual respect. It could be a trust that is not in the place. It could be the environment which is very autocratic.
Biases.
It could be biases. It could be the mythos that runs in the organization. Mythos are the old kind of stories. ए तू आया ना इधर नया ज्वाइन किया ना कुछ नहीं होने वाला तेरा. ये देख मेरे को देख 25 साल से ऐसा ही है. Kind of, there are mythos, negative mythos. Okay. So you really have to understand where it is coming from. Pre-work and FNA. And FN, facilitation need analysis. So TNA is the facilitation need analysis. And you really have to understand and get it from their 2-3 different stakeholder bosses. Could be customer, could be their teammates, could be their bosses, could be somebody else altogether different. How that communication or not good communication happening here, how that is impacting business. Client may not know what they want. What they think they want is usually not what they want. You have to be consultative with client to help them understand their own understanding. And that's where you get the gist. अंदर का core आपको दिखाई देता है. वरना लाइफ इज डिफिकल्ट. रात को 9 बजे आता है कॉल, अच्छा ये जैसे ये पीपीटी भेज रहा हूँ, कल तू करेगा क्या? 3 घंटे का एक वर्कशॉप है. क्लाइंट कौन, क्या है, उसका बैकग्राउंड क्या, वी डोंट नो. एंड देयर आर मेनी ट्रेनर्स आई नो, दे इमीडिएटली से यस एंड दे जंप इन, दे फिल इन फॉर समवन. दैट्स नॉट हाउ फैसिलिटेशन हैपेंस. Okay, so I call it 80% pre-work, 10% delivery, and 10% report and recommendation. तो 10% डिलीवरी के लिए यू रियली हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द होल 80%. राइट? गुड. आई कॉल इट अ क्रिटिकल प्रोवोकेटिव क्वेश्चन इज, वहां पे वो रेटिंग स्केल पे खड़े थे, मैं पूछा ईश्वर उधर ही है, तो चुपके से किसी ने थोड़ा सा एक कदम पीछे ले लिया. दैट्स वेयर आई एम प्रोवोकेटिंग यू. आई एम प्रोवोकेटिंग यू. रियली गाइस, यू आर एक्सीलेंट इन कम्युनिकेशन. 80%. I don't have doubts. I'm just checking. Somewhere that make them feel, यार ये बंदा अपने को चिढ़ा रहा है या क्या कर रहा है, and somewhere they need to go inside and ask, is it really, am I on 8, am I on 7? Okay, a little bit, some provocative preposition has to come here. In any facilitated process or the whole session, these elements need to be there. One is some sort of excitement, some sort of curiosity, some sort of drama, some sort of suspense, and highest जो होना चाहिए, that is your ability to give them time to express themselves. As a facilitator, if you're talking more than 15% of time, then perhaps you're not facilitating. More than 15% time if you're talking, you're not facilitating. Good? Now I will go into the elements of the role of facilitator. अभी तक ये प्रोसेस सब बात चली है, लेकिन मतलब लोहार के हाथ में, कौन सा स्मिथ बोलते हैं इसको, लोहार को? नहीं, आयरन स्मिथ, ब्लैक स्मिथ के हाथ में अगर गोल्ड स्मिथ के टूल्स देंगे तो वो इफेक्ट वो नहीं ला पाएगा. A mechanic cannot become expert mechanic just by buying number of tools. There need to be a way in which he or she need to apply them. And for that they need to know, he or she need to know. Then there is experience, there need to be conscious practice and failure. ये जो स्टिकी वॉल मैंने बनाई है ना, ये फाइनल ये कपड़ा आने के लिए I must have experimented with 60-65 different types of clothes. और जो एक्सपेरिमेंट करके बचते हैं ना, I'll show you, I need to show you so that you understand the value of experiment. So जो ये दिखने में सेम है, ये दिखने में सेम है, एक्सपेरिमेंट करके बचते हैं, then I have nothing to do क्योंकि I can't sell that to my client, my people, my fellow facilitators. So उसकी थैलियाँ बना देता हूँ मैं. ये थैलियाँ ऐसे आई है because this is heavy. अगर ये एक्सपेरिमेंट नहीं करोगे, you will not come to that so-called finely tuned facilitator. Okay? ये आपने टेक्स्ट का कितना पेज का किया? If you give it to me, I read that. 1 घंटे बाद मेरे को पूछो, उसमें से एक सेंटेंस भी मेरे को मालूम नहीं रहेगा. I am pathetic when it comes to data retention. Whatever I am speaking now is only and only from experience. And therefore, conscious practice is important. Conscious practice. Do your experiments. Do it. Find a place, find a way. I do a lot of NGO work. We do massive experiments. Abhay is a responsive witness of that. We decide, ये तो हर टाइम चलता है, ये प्रोसेस अच्छा चलता है, this time let's try it this way. And then the conscious experiment leads towards even more conceptualization, abstract conceptualization, and that leads towards new learning and new way of doing things. Good? ये सब आप कल दोपहर के बाद करोगे और उसके बारे में आज शाम से सोचना चालू करोगे. Because cases are coming. You see, Shekhar is very busy at the back. So those are the cases. Those are the cases. Okay. Now I'm going to take you through. So these are the tools of the trade. We talked about. So there is a contracting and a lot of theories pending. These are something that's associated. So I'm showing it to you. Conference hall. It's very important. You need to know what your hall looks like. What I'm going to say next is mark your territory like a cat. Cat goes to all. I mean, don't susu mat karo sab corner pe. But mark your territory. What I mean by that is, this is your karma bhumi on the day when you are facilitating. Even if it's a small room, big room, mark your territory. Every single thing that need to be there. ये खाली bottle यहाँ पे क्या कर रही है? प्रोसेस के टाइम पे ये यहां नहीं चाहिए. अगर यहां पे है, इट हैज टू हैव सम मीनिंग. ओके, राइट नाउ आई एम इन अ ट्रेनिंग मोड, सो आई एम ओके. का कुछ भी है इधर चलने दो, बट मेक योर स्पेस सूटेबल फॉर योर प्रोसेस. इफ यू वांट टेबल्स टू बी decluttered, टेल पीपल प्लीज declutter इट, बिकॉज यू मे नीड दैट स्पेस फॉर समथिंग. अगर ये टेबल की अरेंजमेंट चेंज करनी है, गेट इट डन. That's your space as a facilitator. So conference hall कैसा होना चाहिए? There need to be a place for your sticky walls and whatever ये सफेद whatever. Okay. Sitting arrangement. So I get stuck when people give me boardroom. ऐसा ओवर टेबल रहता है, फैसिलिटेट करो. सेट होगा नहीं. फिर दूसरा हमारे पास टेरेस पे है, वहां पे टेबल नहीं है, सिर्फ वो चलेगा. बट इतना बड़ा टेबल, नो मूवमेंट, फैसिलिटेशन होगा नहीं. कंटेंट हो सकता है, फैसिलिटेशन होगा नहीं. फॉर फैसिलिटेशन यू नीड मूवमेंट. ऑलराइट. Second is flip chart boards. So we use boards, chart boards, and we use chart papers. But if you have sticky wall, you can do without them. Colored papers. So I have variety of things: a rectangle, the colored shapes, and everything. These are the tools facilitator use. Do you have to? No. Do you have to? No. But by using colored papers, you add multiple intelligence का जो color का जो attraction and the feel factor, kinesthetic आता है, that works fantastic. Okay. And when you hand write something, ये बोलता है ना, टेढ़ा है पर मेरा है. So ये मैं I can be pathetic handwriting बोल सकता हूँ, but I still know it's me. I wrote it. But there is a ownership. So that ownership would come when people start writing. Sticky walls, of course, sticky walls, you talked about it. Chisel markers, these are the markers that has different tips. Call out cards with the post-it kind of thing, or maybe some bordered ones. Then some training props, so you saw those balls and everything, you can keep them. And a tea counter, tea coffee counter. I'm a teetotaler, so sometimes I feel that it should be there, but if in some case it's not there, it's okay. Idea why Google has a pantry within the 100-meter reach of each and every employee, number of pantries, for the simple reason that food is something that plays on people's mind. When you're hungry, it shouldn't be that I have to wait until lunchtime. I am hungry now, 2 घंटा और है. Do you think I'll be able to focus on my work? And therefore in Google and some of the big companies, you just get up, go there, fetch something for you to eat, and that's it. So tea counter at the back is people when they, so natural response of a person who starts feeling sleepy is to get up. गेटअप करके ऐसा पीछे जाके ऐसा खाली नहीं कर सकता है ना. सो ही वुड नेचुरली गो फॉर अ कॉफी और टी और समथिंग एंड देन ही वुड कम बैक. सो इट शुड बी अवेलेबल according to me. There are no shoulds in facilitation, but according to me it should be available. That's a good support. That's a good support. Okay. This is what I told. Facilitation is 80% pre-work. Is that a reminder for me? Some of the other? No, no? Huh? Money collection.
When I asked him why your alarm has been ringing at the same time, he said because you have to take money from somewhere. So the alarm rings, then he sends a reminder.
किसका? अच्छा सर का. Okay. So it's a 80% pre-work, 10% डिलीवरी एंड 10% रिपोर्ट एंड रिकमेंडेशन. प्री वर्क में क्या करते हैं? मेरे पास एक FNA फैसिलिटेशन नीड एनालिसिस का क्वेश्चन है एंड आई विल बी शेयरिंग इट विद यू, बट यू कैन क्रिएट योर ओन. गेट एज मच इंफॉर्मेशन एज पॉसिबल. So in NLP, if I have to do some work with someone, I do a personal detail history. Okay, and that personal detail history could have 100+ questions. But here you are not doing a diagnostic that way. So you have to talk to multiples of stakeholders just to understand. And then you really have to work. It's a good hard work. Good hard work. Okay?
Can we take a 5-minute break?
No. Yeah. Thoda ruko. I'm giving you clarify desired outcomes. This is designing your own process. You have to understand clearly your desired outcomes. Critical questions leading towards the outcomes. What are those critical questions? Answer to which is a desired outcome or number of questions. Processes that would best fit for getting answers to the question. What are some of the processes that would fit? This is where I think you will find maximum difficulty. कहाँ से वो प्रोसेसेस कहाँ से ढूंढ के लाएंगे कि जिसको इसमें डाल सके. सो इट कुड जस्ट बी कॉन्वर्जेशन, यू नो, राइट नाउ जस्ट अ कॉन्वर्जेशन. एंड आई सेंट यू दैट एक फाइल भेजा है, उसमें देयर आर नंबर ऑफ एक्टिविटीज एंड प्रोसेसेस. यू कैन यूज एनीथिंग. इफ एनी वन ऑफ यू IF member, you have a methods database, there are many processes that are available there also. So which one is suitable to you is what something that you need to use. Okay. What needs to be done for convergence to get the desired outcomes? So before that, how would you get them to do the divergence? Okay. What data needs to be generated for divergence leading to the relevant conversation? So divergence के लिए data क्या चाहिए? What are the filters that you are going to apply or be ready with once the divergence is done that will lead towards the convergence? What factors need to be considered before designing the process? So this is the overall process design में ये होता है, whether you like or not. These are the things that you all go through. It's just that put it into the steps. Okay? कौन सा प्रोसेस यूज करेंगे? इज दैट प्रोसेस यू आर गोइंग टू यूज द वे अवेलेबल इट इज? आर यू गोइंग टू ट्विक दैट प्रोसेस? कंप्लीटली अप टू यू. Okay, many people do not use the processes because they think they may end up taking more time than the time made available to them. So किधर ना किधर वो कैप ऑफ टाइम फ्रेम कंसिडर करके प्रोसेस डिजाइन करना चाहिए. ओके, नाउ यू टेक अ ब्रेक.